Once upon a time, there were 3 little girls who went to Congress.
Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice, for being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that?
Executive producer Joe Clinton. These credits are great too. I saw CIA in there.
Welcome to another episode of RBN Live. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Big?
What's poppin', my friends?
Oh man, that's hilarious.
That is an amazing video to start with. CJ is out here, man. Guys, come on, man. You gotta leave a like for that, man. You gotta leave a like for that. That is a powerful intro. That's an amazing way. That is what it is, man. I cannot stress the squad in the DSA is probably the biggest political con since Obama. Like, ever since the Hope and Change. Like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Look at that one right there. She's getting pushed out.
That's why
she was fighting for shit. Now what does she do? She sits at book deals for Cory Bush while they playing Jesus. I Am Woman in the background. That shit.
Jesus Christ. They got theirs though. Look, she on Stephen Colbert. She had the Met Gala.
Yeah. Let me give shout out. So it's Turncoat is the name of the production, and you see that at the end.
Yeah, that's
so
Turncoat Dan.
Proper shout out. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
great Twitter account. He was featured on Jimmy a few times as well. Like he's a powerful filmmaker for our community, for the left community. Yeah. And I told you, we need to step up, like the working class. We need to step up our propaganda game, and this is the kind of shit we need. Like,
yes, we need more of this. We need more of this. So if you're watching, more of this Turncoat. So all right, so JB will be joining. He did message us that
I'll be joining as well.
Yeah, his stream ran a little late, so he'll be joining. Sabi will be joining. And you never know, Rome could drop in, so you could see all of us today. Hey, y'all, enjoying the new Discord platform.
I like it.
Yeah, and you know what? Shout out to Apollo and Zoya. Zoya. We asked Zoya, hey, what's up?
Zoya is life, ladies and gentlemen.
We need somebody to build our Discord. And she was like, hold on, peoples. Hold on. Don't worry about it. And then all of a sudden, Apollo was like, yes, I'm working on this shit. He's like, what? Yep. And he's the one. So shout out to Apollo, or if you know him as Jay, he's the one who built the entire Discord by himself, all the rooms, all the stuff. He's the one that's keeping them updated. So that's a perfect segue to get right into the announcements, because I was actually going to ask this, and that is, our Discord has launched. So if you are wanting to be on our Discord, we are now about to hit 150 people. I'm so surprised in like 24 hours. I didn't know Discord was a thing. This is my first time going to be using it. So in 24 hours, just that quick, all these people are already there. But let's see if we can get another 100 people. So maybe this is your introduction.
I've been liking it. I had a Discord on my original YouTube and I abandoned it a long time ago. I was like, Man, I'm a younger millennial, but I was like, man, Discord was just that was just out of my time. I'm not used to using it. But it's dope now. Cause I've been checking
We
in.
have to force ourselves, the older
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, it's good. It's good now though because I see the utility of it. We got our community together. I saw them talking about organizing, and we were chatting about our conversation with Ryan Grimm on there as well. Like I said, I had an old Discord, but I was like, man, that was on my intro. I was like, bro, how the hell you use this? I think I got it now. I got it now. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
Apollo said hook us up with that. So I'll be on there chatting with you guys on Discord. So make sure you guys join. But go ahead.
So that is the announcement. RBN Discord launched, and right now it's exclusively, get this, exclusively just for Substack subscribers. So even if you don't even need the Substack, if you want access to Discord, become a Substack subscriber. You just go there, type in your name and email, and we're able to send you notifications when we go live. So that's the other thing. If you're watching this on replay and you want notifications on when we go live, join our Substack and we send those notifications. Today you got a notification about an hour before we went live. Normally live streams are like that. Clips are more like 15 minutes, 30 minutes. We'll tell you the clip is about to premiere. And then shout out Aaron is a new person that's working with us, who's doing the editing. So the last 4 clips uploaded were hers. Graphics. So she's just doing good. She's a communist, so she's watching. She says she watches every single hour of our network. So
show love
you,
to Aaron. My friends.
Yeah, say thank you. Show love to Aaron in the chat. The other thing I mentioned was Substack. The other thing, man, this is a shameless plug. My birthday is Thursday.
Let's go.
So what I want for my birthday is for people to donate to a mutual fund, or if you don't have one, we're raising funds for ourselves so that we can pay people like Aaron. And then we also have Dylan, who's also Nick, is going to be my coordinator for the LA chapter. So I have the coordinator for the LA chapter. He's dedicated. He lives close to where I live. So like he's dedicated. He's the one that came out on Skid Row. He's the one that's like always hitting me up. What's going on with the aid? I'm ready to get it started. So shout out to him too, Dylan, Dillon, just to make sure you spell his name right. Shout out to him also. So if you want to volunteer to be a social media, we need a couple of social media coordinators. It's a lot of work. Just think what we have, Nick. We have Rumble. We want to make sure we launch all.
Yeah, a lot of you guys don't even know we on the Rumble. A lot of you guys don't even know.
And that's the thing. We want somebody to kind of start making sure being better at getting our name out. So right now, Apollo is the only one, but we want to bring on some more people. He's the one that's making sure our Instagram is popping, our TikTok. He's the one that's going to be doing Rumble, doing our Odyssey. That's Aaron's work there, the editing work, also the graphic work Aaron is doing.
Dude, those graphics are so good, man.
Yeah, so she's great. So let's make sure, if you're able, let me throw the fundraiser up real quick. If you're able to contribute so that we can pay adequately staff like Aaron, who's doing this great work. She just started. Here is our equipment and labor fundraiser. Equipment needed for citizen journalism. We want to be out in the field right now. There's a lot of strikes going on in California where I can literally drive in like 45 minutes. Lots, like locations I can go to. So if I was able to pay somebody to come out and, hold the camera and operate it and whatever that needs to be done while I'm in front of the camera, just interviewing and doing that work, that will be great. And then if you're able to contribute, that's our Cash App, that's our Venmo. If you're able to contribute, please do. Patreon also is a way that you can support. And then here's the last thing before we get into it. Here's the last thing. Let's look and see what people are saying in the chat, Nick. And let's
we got
also
super chat. I'll put it real quick too.
Yeah, go ahead. Throw that up. Let's go to the chat.
$10. This is a solidarity super chat. Glad we getting the stream off started pretty strong. Thank for $10, Mike. Thanks y'all. Great voices for the worker cause. You guys know what I say, man. I'm not here to cover for anyone else except the workers. We're not here to defend the honor of politicians. We're not here to drive you to the red, blue political parties like some other channels are. My only goal is to advance the worker cause. That's RBN. Not looking for insider access. We already pissed a lot of people off, and we're gonna keep doing that because we're gonna keep advocating only for the working class. So thank you for the $10, man. Right. And we also got
and I think Ryan acknowledged that, like, I think it has to be an understanding between PMC and us. We may have some overlapping left ideas, not even ideologies, just let's keep it more minimal ideas. But you clearly understand we're advocating just for the working class left. We're advocating for those people because those people keep getting grandfathered in to these failed strategies. So you just remain on Medicare, Medicare, what is it? Medicaid or whatever the expansion was through Obamacare.
Why you guys think we originally called ourselves Fred Hampton leftists? It was about bringing this idea of leftism that essentially died in the United States. We went from Marxist-Leninist organizations like the Black Panthers and Fred Hampton, and now we went from people who will be Fred Hampton leftists, and now people were saying they're Bernie Sanders leftists, they're Nina Turner leftists, they're DSA, they social democrats. And I saw this, and that's why I liked the name originally, because let's bring this old school leftism back. Let's bring this militant working class leftism back, not this CIA planned approach that they are okay with of social demo. Like, I'm not saying they don't have good ideas, but they don't go far enough, and they justify a lot of the capitalist structures by being critics of our social movements. So JB, my brother, he would know better than anybody. JB be on the channel spitting straight facts and knowledge, reading theory all the time. I'll be watching the theory readings. Good.
Thank you,
JB.
Thank you. Good to see you.
What's up, JB?
CJ, did you just get a fresh lineup? Because you look like your lineup looks fresh.
CJ lineup always fresh.
Yeah, I just got out the shower with the wave cap. You know how when you put the wave cap on when it's wet, so it's right after it's wet and it's dry, it's kind of like right perfect. That's why it looks like that. And in another 30 minutes, it'll be out. Just kind of like a black woman's hair. You can sweat out their hair. You sweat out the waves a little bit. He sweat them out. Yeah. So just got out the shower. That's why. But yeah. What's up, JB? How was the stream? Tell people what you talked about so they can go over it and watch that stream, just so they know what the topic is, sir.
Whoo, boy, I'm gonna tell you right now, it was a really good conversation. We actually ran over time. I had on Eric. Eric is also the producer for Sab's channel, as well as his son Corey. We're both on to talk about the 11 demands that they had. One of the demands actually also pointed to the 10 demands for justice that you co-authored, Nick, as part of the demands. So, yeah, so it was great conversation about basically this is like one of the last stops before a revolution. It's like, okay, so maybe this is what we need to do in order to get something to change. And so is that what we're going to head towards? And so, they came up with a great list of demands that are really centered on people, centered on the workers, the poor, the people who are the most disenfranchised. So I honestly think that if you guys would like to get a glimpse of those 11 demands, I just finished the stream. And so if you guys want to take a look at that, you guys definitely can. In fact, I'll put it in the chat really quick. So if you guys want to take a look at that. But yeah, I that was a really great conversation, and we went over those. So I absolutely love it. But watch it after we're done with the stream if you guys want to.
Absolutely. So absolutely check that out. Like I say, I'm gonna start saying more and more often. You have to watch RBN together. Like you have to watch JB, because he's doing stuff we're not doing here. Same thing with Sabi's channel. And eventually when I'm back to doing my own channel, but I want to focus here. But you have to watch it because it's a puzzle. You have to watch all of our content together to get the full picture. So I think we can probably go to some more comments. So let's do a comment check and a like check. I'll start with the like check. We're at
that's what it is. That's RBN. That's the Revolutionary Blackout Network. It's all of us. So make sure you check JB channel out as well, guys.
And
We're
and Nick, this is something I've been meaning to ask you about. I want to talk to you offline. You know, we talk about the details, but I want to see about start streaming back on Facebook and adding Rumble in the cost, because I think part of the money we're raising for labor and equipment that
we can talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that. But I just wanted to announce people that we're going to be doing that. But anyway, let's throw some comments up. Let's please like the stream. And I'm going to tell you, we've been really pushing our membership. So like the stream. We're at 115 likes right now, 250 people watching. Can we push to 225 likes, 225? And this is what it was before I checked, before we started today, 26,897. So 899 we're at. So 899. All right. So keep liking, keep sharing. Make sure you join the Substack. And now we can get into the first topic, unless you guys see any good chats, because I did say
we about to talk about DSA, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do DSA. So
this is once again RBN vindicated. This is something that we've been calling out for quite some time, and the people who are afraid of speaking truth to power, they will say stuff like, "Oh, RBN, why are you being divisive for calling out this obviously captured group?" Sabi Sabs in the house.
Hello.
Hello, my friend. I'm glad you was able to join us. We're gonna cover Sabi on the Rising as well. That's probably be our next segment. We can break down your appearance. How you doing, Sabi? Anything you want to add? We about to talk about DSA.
Oh boy.
We were vindicated because there's been a lot of a lot of alarming signs on DSA. It was a failed approach. DSA has been hijacked by capitalist interest, and I've been calling this out as like you can see my old tweets years ago. I'm like, you guys made the tent way too big, and if you look at the CI infiltration techniques they do, this DSA is 100% responsible for so many of these violations. And I knew DSA wasn't shit when they was apologizing for Jamal Bowman. You had DSA Madison, who we had one of the people who was a part of DSA Madison on this show. And they was like, yo, we following the original handbook. We supposed to stand solidarity with Palestinians. So they voted to expel Jamal Bowman. And then there was a fucking meltdown in DSA. Well, it was like, whoa, no, this is Madison. They going rogue. We're not going to expel Jamal Bowman. When that happened, I was like, you guys went full flesh sellout. We all knew you guys had a bad premise. And go ahead, JB. I'm just ranting. Go ahead.
Well, no, I just wanted to ask you the question. When you say DSA, are you referring to national DSA or DSA chapters?
I think that's what the article is about, at least. I don't know I think they're talking about the national DSA in the article.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's DSA leadership. That's what we're talking about. Because I know.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to clarify for everybody.
And this is the frustrating part because there's many people who join DSA, especially as they start to learn more about socialism. We all have our own evolution. We should praise people who want to be involved in their local political organizations. So I praise anyone who signed up for DSA. That's why I have passionate anger for the leadership who disenfranchise these people. You know how many people I know who signed up for DSA who literally quit later? They got disenfranchised because leadership, the DSA, they don't listen to their leadership. They are a socialist organization that runs the organization top down instead of horizontally. And that's why I was friends with a lot of these people. I used to organize with Casey Sunrise. I'm done. I'm done. I'm out of here. I'd rather start our own shit, which we have done. We have the power. We don't need to rely. We don't have to rely on these structures that have sold out. So I'm like, let's do our own shit. Let's back up people who are doing great work like we have done on the show. The people we spotlight on the show, like Tim Demands, Dylan Rodriguez, and many of our other great allies, like in Black and like we need to spotlight what it means to be really on the left. DSA in this malversion of incrementalism that these social democrats push is not going to cut it. We need to directly challenge capital, not try to be a part of it. Sabi, CJ, JB, I preface story. I know, CJ, I think you got the story saved.
Yes, I'm sorry. I should have put it up already as you were speaking. So I can shout out the title here. And I do have a brief video. It's a 7-minute video that I think goes well with this segment. But this is the headline. Democratic Socialists of America scramble to defend its role in imposing rail contract. Go ahead.
If they and this is something that's going to expose DSA leadership, because the reason why I praise people who got involved in the socialist organization, I don't really care which one it is. If you get involved in your local community, that's great, guys. You want to know who pissed off? Some of the most people who pissed off about the squad selling out rail workers, members of the DSA on Twitter who are calling out leadership. They said we need to expel these people. A lot of members of DSA, they are victims because their organization do not listen to them, even the ones who have good intentions. And that is what's happening right now. If they do not expel the squad for their vote in union busting in the railroad deal, that means their organization is fraudulent. And it will forever be known as fraudulent if you couldn't already make the argument or as it is. But let's give them grace, right? We can pretend to give grace, but if they don't put a foot down now, you know it's a fraud. You know it's a fraud. A lot of people are more than happy making their career within the Democratic Party infrastructure and being Democratic Party careerists. They are comfortable now. Go ahead, CJ. Go ahead.
What I wanted to do, everybody, is, now that I'm thinking about it, I think what may be anticlimactic for me to start this story, because I would probably want you to see the reaction, because believe it or not, everybody, not a lot of the boutique left is covering this vote by these DSA members.
Goodness, color me shocked. Oh my God, I do declare.
Humanist Report, I checked Majority Report, I checked TYT, I checked Rational National. I didn't find one Rational National.
You actually checked it, they didn't cover it?
Yeah.
No shame.
Well,
man.
They may say, I covered it buried in a boring live stream.
Yeah.
So I wasn't gonna do that. I'm just saying
they're like Patreons only live stream. Yeah. And they're gonna cover it for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Right. All right, sorry, go ahead.
But I do have their version of covering it on the Majority Report, and this is what I wanted to show. So I want to show this before we read the article. It's about 7 minutes, and it's Emma. And what I do notice about the Majority Report, I'm not sure if Sabi, because I know you do a lot of research on the media. I'm not sure if you noticed this, but a lot of the issues when it comes to the DSA or ALC, like them not doing well, Sam will be missing. Like he's off that day for the live stream, so it'll be somebody else. It's always magically works out to be that way. But the title is "Only One Squad Member Stood by Railroad Workers While the Rest Caved." Now let's watch it and then we'll rate.
Look at the title. You see how even when covering something this negative, they still they lead with, hey, at least one squad member did good.
Right.
Remember how we covered it? We explained what the rotating hero is. Are they going to explain that? How they always pick one squad member to be the good guy? How for example, Cori Bush was the only squad member to vote against Capitol Police funding. She did that because she knows she's known as the one that advocates the most on defunded police, so they can't let her take that L. But Ilhan can take that L.
Well, it was her and Ayanna Pressley, but that makes sense because of their districts. Yeah, because both of them live in districts where the police have really affected the community, like harassing the community. So it makes sense that they would vote that way. AOC's district is not that way. Most of the people in her district, this is according to what Lucy told me, because Lucy's in AOC's district, are more so Latino. So you see, they help. They're basically going towards the majority demographic in their district. This is also why AOC can put out a statement in an interview saying she doesn't agree with reparations, because that's not her district. So this is how they do that.
And you notice, Sabi, you mentioned how they had two. They had Ayanna Pressley and Cori Bush who voted against the Capitol Police. Who was it two this time? Mark Pocan and Rashida Tlaib. You see how it go in twos? It literally go in twos every single time. And so we explain that on our live stream. But look at how Majority Report. I'll put it. We can put it back on the screen. But look how Majority Report put it. How they said one squad member stood for the workers.
Now you tell me. Tell me when you want to stop it. It's only 7 minutes, so it's kind of fast.
Let's put it back on the screen.
But go ahead. But tell me when you want to stop it. I'll put it back on in just a second.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, there you go. Tell me when you want to stop it because I'm sure you will want. But let's listen for the critique. Let's listen and see if you hear any. There is some, but let's listen.
What we're seeing with the rail strike and the rail contract that's being imposed. And so just to recap, the House has passed 2 resolutions, one breaking the strike, which passed overwhelmingly. Only 8 Democrats opposed it. Only one squad member, Rashida Tlaib. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez changed her vote.
Tlaib had the...
What was that? Oh, you see how conflicted they are?
Go ahead. Because it gives them an out. Because look at it this way. She was conflicted. You see how they can still believe in her? Her first vote was no, and then she was conflicted and she switched it. That makes them feel, that's why they go with, you know what she really believes in, even though her vote. That's what they use that sort of phrasing. Like, you know what she really believes in. But go ahead. Anybody else want to chime in on this?
It's just like, I know they punched you in the face, but they're usually not like that, right? They just punch you in the face.
We can change
15 times. It's like, okay, I hate to put it this way, but you know how when you get into a relationship with somebody and you think you can change them, but what happens? You can't change them. They have to change on their own. Same thing. See, a lot of times there's this thought, oh, well, all we got to do is just treat them gently and we can change them. It's like, how many times are you going to keep allowing this person to slap you in the face and say sorry? Are you going to continue to keep allowing yourself to be abused, or are you going to stop them from slapping you and say enough is enough? See, that's the thing what a lot of these progressives within the Democratic Party continuously do. They slap, punch, and kick and spit us in the face. And they continue to keep doing it, and yet we keep capitulating or acquiescing to them, even though what they're doing is damaging to us. So instead of actually going up against them, you'll have some that will apologize for them and say, they didn't mean it, when they meant it, and they keep doing it. And this is peak, what's the word? I'm looking for the word. They're allowing for it, or not, they're enabling. Sorry. They are enablers of bad behavior. So this is why I don't like to listen to people who continuously tell us that we should allow for bad behavior. And they'll say, oh, we don't allow for bad behavior. We critique them too. And it's like, okay, but your critiques of the squad and the progressives are the equivalent of a parent that constantly says, I'm going to count to 3 if you don't stop. 1, 2, and then the child stops. But then the child keeps going again. 1, 2, and then they stop. But then they go again. 1, 2. You see how this keeps going? And then the parent doesn't nip it in the bud. And they keep going, they keep allowing for that behavior. And then as the child gets older, they become more brazen. The same thing with the Democrats. The same thing with the squad is that they keep allowing and saying, oh, we're going to hold them accountable without actually doing the holding them accountable. So therefore, this is why you have so many people that will watch some people in independent media. And then they'll go, but they're doing their best. And it's like, when will you wake up to the fact that they are complicit with what the corporate Democrats are doing? Just because I didn't necessarily help rob the bank, I'm still driving the car in order for them to get away. They are the accessories to the murder. This is exactly what they are. So people, wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed.
I was just gonna say, I think first, I love that analogy, JP. There's accessory to the. No, I was gonna say, people who may not be aware, who don't watch Majority Report, that is probably one of the only left independent media shows that they will go on. Ilhan Omar goes on there, Jamal Bowman goes on there, at least those two, at least. So that's another thing you got to keep in mind, is that they're trying to maintain access to them, so they're not going to heavily criticize them. And that was something that I did mention this morning about the people trying to maintain access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a great point. Can't wait till we get to your clip. Let's listen to a little more of Emma, and we'll see. Just let me know when you want to stop.
Needed to leave. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez changed her vote.
Tlaib had the right position, which is like, if you're going to be the party of working people, you need to show up for them every time, and every time would include an important, vital, like historical time like this.
Yeah, and that was the right vote, and like, so she was the only one of 8. Everyone else,
and it's concerning because, like, to me, it seems like AOC and Ilhan, for instance, could have voted with Tlaib, and it still would have passed.
I just wonder why. So there must have been something.
You're so close to getting it. You're so close. They all say keep playing. He's so close to understanding.
Because it's recorded on the docket that Ocasio-Cortez in particular changed her vote from nay to yay.
There's only so many times, like, politicians have, like, there must be something.
I'll be short. I want the video to keep playing. But you know, is when they do their analysis, ask yourself why. They just saying it nonchalantly. Yeah, it's kind of curious that the squad, even they didn't have to vote for this, but they did. Curious. We will never know why.
That's such a great point. That's such a great point. That
the lack of curiosity. It's like when Epstein killed himself, and all of a sudden, no reporter gave a fuck about asking any questions. Where's your curiosity? Why are you not asking yourself why are they making these decisions? Are you not interested? Oh man, we will never know why they did this vote. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah, it's weird, man. I thought she was good. Man, she must have slipped up. Must have made a mistake. Anyway, let's continue.
Before you have to show results for what that something is.
Right. Now, listen to what he says in the background. This guy, the magic voice in the background, listen to what he says right here.
Like, politicians have, like, there must be something before you have to show results for what that something is.
Right.
And
did you hear that? He's kind of saying, how long before are you going to have to start showing results?
Ocasio-Cortez in particular changed her vote from nay to yay.
There's only so many times, like, politicians have, like, there must be something before you have to show results for what that something is.
Right. And like, what bothers me most about this is that it's so clear what's happening here. The splitting of these two bills, it ends, in my opinion, the most likely path for there to be any real paid sick leave. What's probably going to happen is that the first bill that passed overwhelmingly, which is the one that's in favor.
Remember we had Ryan on yesterday? And what do you mean? That was that, when I'm not saying he's saying this, but we were trying to say, we already knew this was going to fail. This whole sick day, 7 days, that's a sham. And I read that article. This video is before the actual signing of it. And this is somebody on the boutique left saying, this is not going to pass. We already know this 7-day thing is not going to pass. This is her saying it right here. I'll rewind so we can catch it again.
You see what no Marxist and no material analysis does to a motherfucker? They be talking about politics like shit is random. Who knows? Who knows why this is happening? Why is Squad making these decisions? We will never know. Oh my God! Why did the Supreme Court strike down the housing initiative that Cory Bush fought for? Who knows? We didn't know that was going to happen. We didn't know Hakeem Jeffries was going to be the next House Speaker. We voted for Nancy Pelosi because we thought we was going to get committee assignments. How could we know the capitalists was going to betray us? You guys see what these people have? No material analysis, no structural analysis against capitalism and how capitalism affects the decisions of the ruling class. So they go along in politics, stumbling around, have no idea what's going on. Hitting one wall, going off to another wall. Meanwhile, every step of the way, RBN was telling you guys what was going to happen, and we have been right. We told you guys that the rent moratorium was going to be struck down. Meanwhile, when that happened, they had their pants down. That was surprising to them. We told these people this squad was sellouts that was shield for the Democratic Party, and then when these votes happen, they're like, oh my God, what is happening? You guys don't understand because you guys have a liberal understanding and zero Marxist material analysis of politics. That is what our brother Q said. Nothing that happened in politics is by accident. The people think this shit is random. It's not. But go ahead, CJ. We can continue.
We got to have him back on soon. But let's continue.
In my opinion, the most likely path for there to be any real paid sick leave, what's probably going to happen is that the first bill that passed overwhelmingly, which is the one that's in favor of the rail carriers and of corporate America, because like apparently if there's a strike, there could be billions of losses per day because of supply chain disruptions. But hey, maybe just give your workers
that's why you give
paid
them
sick
what they
leave.
want. Yeah, exactly.
and this is really, I mean, behind the times in the sense that and I'll get into some of what Biden could do. They're like, this is behind 80% of the rest of the country in terms of what is guaranteed for sick leave. And because there are federal contracts involved here, I heard David Dayen say this, there's a possibility that if the second bill that guarantees 7 paid sick leave days does not pass, Biden could amend an executive order that Obama passed in 2015 requiring the 7 paid sick days for workers involving federal contracts. But Obama's executive order specifically exempted rail companies from that.
Winning with Obama. So what she's saying is he should just put it in there and pass it. But when the last time this was done, Obama just amended it and he put it in there, but he excluded the rail carriers. So that's our Democratic Party. Go ahead, JP.
So yeah, that was actually an executive order that was done by Barack Obama, and so the exemption of rail workers was actually very telling. And all Biden would have to do is go back to that executive order that Obama signed and take that exemption out, and then they automatically have 7 days of sick leave. You don't even have to do anything through Congress. So it's just that simple, and that's the crazy part. But they want to put it through Congress because he knows that even though it is that simple, they don't want it to be that simple, just so that they won't give them those concessions, which really should be a no-brainer. But the thing is that now, because of that, you start to see Joe Biden isn't as pro-union as he touted himself to be. The Democratic Party isn't as pro the union as they touted themselves to be. In fact, Donald Trump could have also did the same thing with the executive order. He could have did it. He didn't do it. And so here's the crazy part. Why? Say it with me, everybody. Y'all know. Every single one of y'all know. So that's the problem right now. And so why aren't the progressives getting on camera and saying, President Biden, your predecessor, Barack Obama, did this. Take away the exception in the executive order and give them the sick days, the PTO. Just give it to them. But you don't see them going on Twitter with their millions of followers saying, well, President Biden could do this, or President Biden could do that, instead of having to go through Congress. Instead, they're zip their lip and allowed it to fail, which means that they are still complicit, including the rotating hero.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons why I think they were probably already told ahead of time not to say anything about that, not to mention that, because it's been floating around on Twitter and on Facebook as well, but that message is not coming from them. So they already know, but I bet you they were already told not to say anything.
I risk my case.
But what I would like to say, because we can switch back to the article at this point, but let me put her face on so when I'm saying this, it gives you the fuller effect. So we have to understand how such a weak critique of something as important as this. There is literally no other thing in capital that the state can do to squash labor than this. And this is their critique. And most of them aren't even bringing it up. Just think about these people, this boutique left media. How are we expected them to represent the working class? Look what they're doing. They're not even effectively critiquing the left in their strike breaking. Like there's nothing like now TYT, they go the furthest. And I think we played a little bit of it in another stream. But like Humanist Report, Rational National, then this is Majority's weak little sort of video. And in the title, not even really like critiquing them. Go ahead, Nick. I see you.
It's unbelievable, CJ. I'll be short. I will pass it right back to you. But it's unbelievable because we have known these people for being weak on their critique of Bernie and the squad when it comes to foreign policy. Like, so I thought like everyone was going to turn on Bernie and the squad once they start funding Nazis in Ukraine. They're going for armed deals in Taiwan. But these people don't care about crimes that happen to people outside of this country. This is why they continue to vote Democrat. This is why they continue to vote Democrat. They okay with voting for Joe Biden, even though he's complicit with multiple genocides. So I'm like, okay, we know who you are. You only care about what's going on in this country. You care about you getting Medicare for all. You care about the U.S. suburban working class, right? So that's why this next portrayal is next level shocking, because we knew they was weak on state violence and domestic and international politics, but they will at least pretend to be good on domestic and labor issues. Yeah. Now they are being weak on domestic issues, which was the one thing they would lean on the most. So now they sold out completely on international issues and domestic policy, which is incredible. It's incredible. They got away with selling out Palestinians. They got away with selling out Syrians, Libyans, and the people in the global south consistently. But now screwing unions and screwing the working class and screwing people in our country, that's why now I think they went too far, because they got away with a lot of stuff. A lot of people are able to tune this stuff out, but I don't think a lot of people tune out the labor struggle. And that's why I think they overstepped. And that's why you about to get into this article now that's showing DSA and the people who are complicit with this. This is full exposure, because it's not wonky foreign policy. It's not state violence that a lot of people shout. This is, you guys are directly interfering with the labor movement now.
Plus,
so you get the same feeling. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sabi.
Plus, people have to understand who are the DSA members, because I can't speak for every other chapter, but in Boston, they're mainly professionals. There's not that many Black people that are in DSA. I'm sorry, a lot of them look like Emma. Like, I'm just gonna be real. Like, that's what they look like. So it's like they're not really representing the working class. They may have they may say yes, they support labor and they support working issues, but the members, the makeup of at least the DSA chapter here in Boston, it's mainly professionals. So how are you going to really fight and stand up and speak for working class people if none of the people in the organization are working class?
That's such a great point. And what I wanted to chime in also, Sabi, to your point, and to, I think, Nick, you also kind of mentioned this or was alluding to this, and that is, what is the DSA type? The Jacobin, the Jim Pearl, is that how you say name? Perlman, the one that ran in Florida. Margaret, not Margaret Kimberly, the Mariam Williamsons, the David Sorotas. What have they been saying? We should get behind a labor struggle or labor movement. Crystal Ball is another one. Labor movement. This completely flies in the face. Their most leftist people that they worship is completely against or have made this a vote, which is completely against the strategy that they're trying to say is the best strategy we should do, which is go through a labor movement. How is that going to work when the people in power would just vote us out? Would just vote to send police down there? Like, how would that work? You get what I'm saying? Go ahead.
I'll pass right to you, but Crystal in particular got egg on her face. Cause I remember she was recently making the argument that we should continue to vote Democrat because at least they are the party that can be good on labor issues.
Yes.
Do you remember when she made that argument? And then Joe Biden came out and crushed another labor strike. He undermined the Amazon labor movement as well. These are things that people miss when he gave them a federal contract. But CJ, when you finish your thought, I just want to add to that. But go ahead, CJ.
No, I think I'm done. But were you gonna chime in, Sabi? Somebody were saying anything? No, because I can't see you. I'm not looking at the screen. All right, so I think I'm gonna bring up because it speaks to. I think we posted the main account posted a clip of Michael Brooks talking to Vivek, who's a writer and philosopher, and he's a Marxist. Okay, here it goes. Let me see, because it's speaking to what you just spoke to, Sabi, which is the DSA in your area is like mostly professionals. So this conversation that we're having with Michael Brooks, Vivek. So let me play this first, and I'll play it all the way through. It's a shorter clip, but this is the important point that all of us are making here. He makes this Marxist analysis here. And let me read the caption. The left is in the USA is overwhelmingly a middle class formation. It is the first left historically to have no connection to the working class. That is amazing. Jesus. When I heard this in this video, so this is a gem. I'm gonna retweet this today, but this is a gem right here, undiscovered gem that I found on the Michael Brooks show. And rest in peace, Michael Brooks. So here it goes.
Now, the liberalism that you talk about, Michael, when you say there's a lot of liberalism within the left today, I would not call it that. So the identitarian stuff that you talk about, the narrowness, that is not an ideological hangover of liberalism. That is a very, very active set of people pushing their material interests. Right. The left in the United States is fundamentally and overwhelmingly a middle class formation. It is not it's the first left globally, historically, that has no connection to the working class, to the poor at all. People complain that the left is white. Bullshit. That's a second. The left has those non-whites who are in the American left are all middle class too. It's disproportionately white, but it's all middle class, regardless of its color. In that setting, when you're only bringing in middle class people into your organization, a big chunk of them are going to say, we don't want to hear about poverty. We don't want to hear about the economy. What we want to know is, when we walk into a room, why are we not treated well? When we apply for the salaried positions at 6 figures that we think we have a right to, why do we get 5% less than the other guys? That's what the middle class on the left wants to hear about. It will dress it up in all sorts of historically powerful language and all that. But Adolf Reed has been saying this for a while, and it's only because he's in America that people think this is controversial. In the rest of the world, what Adolf says is just common sense, which is this is a form of nationalist politics. And all nationalist politics has one or the other class character. Either it's a nationalism that's wrapped around the needs of the poor, or it's a nationalism that's wrapped around the needs of the aspiring, emerging elite within the dominated groups. Identity politics is the class instinct of Black, brown, and Asian, yellow, whatever you want to call them, people, and the women. It's not an ideological hangover. It is a very committed and clear set of material interests. And as long as the left remains in the middle class, it will never get out of it.
That is powerful to me. I don't know if you felt that was powerful, but that was powerful, and it fits to why the left is so weak, why the left never gets anything, why the left never advocates for the very poor, and it's always grandfather. Then it's so many different layers of what he's saying is just spot on. Go ahead, JB. I saw you feeling it in your chest from a couple of those lines. So you want to chime in? Go ahead, sir.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so gosh, I wish I could talk to him, because my question would be, and I want you guys to answer this too, then would that mean that the middle class would have to suffer even more in order for them to wake up to what truly we need in this country? Because I don't know, it feels like, it's like, so what's the solution for that? Because you got so many people who are solidly middle class that don't know what it feels like to be us, right? And so then they're devoid of that concept. So then it's like when we talk to them about how we're suffering, it's like, what are you talking about? Everything's gravy. We just got to get a couple more of these things and we're good. It's just crony capitalism that's the problem. Everything else is fine. We just got to get to the point where we're like Iceland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Germany. That's all we got to do. That's what it feels like. And then come to find out, like I brought out last week on my show, the poverty rate in Germany is now higher than the poverty rate here in the United States. What? Germany? Yes, Germany. Deutschland. Yes. So the crazy part is now a lot of us are going, should we do something about this? A lot of people who are the PMCs and the middle class are going, where our student loan debt is getting way higher. It's getting a little hot in here. Don't you think we should do something? And now a lot of us poor folks have been going, no shit, Sherlock. We've been saying this shit for a longest ass time, and y'all haven't been listening. Are you listening now? And now you see people going, maybe we should open the windows, turn the thermostat down. So that's what it feels like to me. What do you guys think?
I'll for one say, like, having pretty much grown up in Germany, Germany's economy was great. So if that can happen to them, I mean, just think about it. But a lot of the times I found with like the DSA types, it's like, yeah, like they'll be really passionate about canceling student loan debt, which we still need to have that happen. And they're passionate about the principles. Like, we need Medicare for all, we need housing for all, we want this, we want that. But from what I've seen, at least in my area, most of them are only struggling with the student loan debt issue. And so, because they're not working class. That's the thing. So this is a problem I think national DSA needs to address as well. The leadership there is really weak. And I think we've seen clips of some of them like speaking out, but the leadership there is just incredibly weak. They don't respond to people. I've seen national DSA members attacking each other on social media, attacking their own members on social media. So it's just like, I don't understand the purpose of DSA anymore. Is it just to continue to like sheep herd young people into the Democratic Party? Are they really about like progressive policies? Like, what is the purpose of DSA? Like, for example, if they were to push out AOC and Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman too, because he also hasn't been following the print. If they were to push them out, then what is DSA?
One thing I want to add to this.
That's a great question.
I think this is an integral part. This is why organizations like DSA need to be led by the most disenfranchised people among us. Meaning people who are poor, people who are disabled, women, especially Black women, trans women, the people who get shafted the most in our society should be the ones that are leading these organizations. Because
this goes for the Green Party too. They particularly
Yep.
have this same
Yeah.
issue, class issue of not
Mhm.
having the right representation. I don't mean shade representation. I mean economic representation. So that could be different shades. So I don't want you to confuse that. But let's read the article so we can move to Sabi's video, because I want to make sure we get to that while everybody's here. But that clip with Michael Brooks and Vivek is like, they have a bunch of gems of just like, man, it's just the analysis of the left and how it's middle class and what we're speaking to today and the problems they have advocating for the working class is spelled out. But let me read this part. The Democratic Socialists of America have been thrown into crisis after 3 of its 4 members in the House of Representatives voted to impose a contract on the rail workers, blocking a national rail strike. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jamal Bowman, and Cory Bush all voted in favor of the bill, with only Rashida Tlaib voting against. Together with Bernie Sanders in the Senate, the DSA-backed caucus introduced a separate resolution to give railroaders, I should say, 7 days of paid sick leave. This was purely political theater. Let me repeat. This was purely political theater to provide the Democrats with political cover. It had no chance of passing the Senate over opposition for Republicans and even right-wing Democrats such as Joe Manchin. And it was crafted in such a way that its passage in the House, but rejection in the Senate would not even delay the signing of the anti-strike law. And let me stop there. And I read another article in another stream that points this out, that said the role that Bernie Sanders plays specifically in selling out the role, and it's from the same website, because a lot of people may not know this. He agreed to unanimous consent. That's the only reason they were even got to the process of even voting for this so quickly, because they needed to pass it so quickly before the 9th. And the only way it could happen is if all the senators agree, and Bernie Sanders was one of them. So that's what is meant by what they're meaning here. It was crafted in a way that wouldn't delay the other part that was agreed to on a unanimous consent. In the Senate, Sanders cast a meaningless no vote against imposing the contract, but his support was crucial for so that I didn't realize they were going to say this later in this article, in this second article, but this they're speaking to it what I just said now. Let me repeat. So in the Senate, Sanders cast a meaningless no vote against imposing the contract, but his support was crucial for the expedited procedure through which it was passed, because under Senate rules, it requires the support of all 100 senators. But everybody wants to praise Bernie Sanders. Anybody want to chime in on this part about Bernie Sanders before I read the next couple of articles and we can close this segment? Anyone wants to chime in?
I think it was at least for that first bill that passed by like 80 votes. It was Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and a couple other people. But I know those two in particular voted against them being blocked to strike. I know that part. But
yes,
still, it they had to have known, like I'm sure we knew this. They had to have known that the sick leave bill was not going to be approved by Joe Manchin. And so is nobody else throwing their hands up in the air about the fact that Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz approved of giving them the 7-day sick leave, but Joe Manchin said no. And I asked this question again, why is Joe Manchin still have committee assignments? Why hasn't he been removed from any of his committee assignments? I asked Ro Khanna that question. He couldn't answer it.
It's a setup, man. This is such a setup. I just wish everybody saw this. But let's complete the article and we can move on. And we get everybody's final thoughts. I guess the role of the DSA shocked and angered many of its own members, which include which includes sincere but politically inexperienced youth who joined in the belief that the DSA was genuinely a socialist organization. The DSA leadership, meanwhile, is in full damage control mode. Sorry. The DSA Political Committee issued a statement Monday titled, quote, "Stand with rail workers, build worker power," which was in reality wholly devoted to whitewashing the role of the DSA in illegitimizing a strike by railroaders. Go ahead, Nick, if you wanted to chime in.
No, that's just well said, because we saw so many of those people. Now we was calling them out, and this is why I kept my eye on the ball. Remember what I saw on RBN, why it was suspicious that Bernie and AOC and them was not criticizing Biden. Like, we had these questions, and people like, "Oh my, well, Bernie, he at least wants to get the rail workers." I'm like, and you look on the page, they always had DSA in their name when they were saying stuff like that. So why are they busy doing damage control instead of being busy expelling the sellout squad members who are still part of DSA? Look at their priorities. But go ahead.
I'll say this. This is why you don't put capitalists as heads of a socialist organization.
They would take offense, but if you behave like a capitalist and you get close to capitalist institutions, what does that make you?
Yeah. And you call the number one capitalist insider in Congress, Mama Bear. Hey, but let me read this quote. Quote, "We condemn the move by President Biden and Congress to force over 100,000 rail workers to accept the TA by denying them the legal right to strike," end quote. The statement claimed, it added, quote, "Whenever major powers in the country, the center, the right, and our laws align against workers, DSA members in Congress introduced a legislative push for sick days and forced a vote on the measure, which did not succeed." After praising Rashida Tlaib's vote against imposing the contract, the statement then adds, in passing, several sentences down, "We disagree and are disappointed with the decision of DSA members," and they mentioned the ones, AOC, Cori Bush, "to needlessly vote to enforce the TA."
We disagree and disappointed.
How many times are they going to disagree and disappoint until you realize that they do not express or carry the same tenets of your organization? If they do not express or carry the tenets of your organization, they do not belong in your organization.
Imagine if any member of RBN betrayed the working class, and then I was like, "JB, I'm disappointed in you." I disagree with your tactics of siding with capitalists. Like, you sold out Palestinians. I'm like, "Oh man, I'm disappointed. Can't believe you did that, man. It's a shame."
So I have a question for everybody. I'll put it up on screen here. We can close out with this question. Will the boutique left support strikebreakers moving forward? Like, because now that's what we're going to be labeling them. So it's no more squad, it's strikebreakers. So will the majority reports, like, how do they, and I'll start with Sabi, how do they come back from this? Like this, because maybe it's not surprising. The rail strike thing is still a story. Like, hasn't gone away. This has been going on for several days, and people are still doing content over it. They're still writing articles over it. So this is a lingering sort of laceration on their reputation, the little that they had. So how can we move forward? Like, you have Shama calling them out and saying DSA has to expel them. You can't be a socialist and a strikebreaker. So my question is, will the boutique left, how do they save face and sort of still tell people to vote for these people, or will they do that? However you want to take the question, everybody, and we can start with Sabi.
I think they'll still find a way to come up with an excuse. They may say, like Ryan Grimm did, well, this is what the union asked for. And I think there's a big difference between what the union members wanted and what the union leaders wanted. Because I've seen several interviews with the railroad workers, and I've seen different stories about that. But I think they'll find a way, some way, shape, or form. They'll either come back and tell their audience, well, you still got to support them because they're the best that we have. And that's probably what they're going to go with. But eventually, this is going to get old. How many times are you going to continue to tell your audience this is the best that we have when they keep fucking up? And my whole thing is like with DSA, I'm really mad at the organization as a whole because number one, they should have never started calling themselves socialists. They're not socialists. You don't hear them talk about workers owning the means of the production. That is a key difference when you're talking about someone who is actually a social democrat. That's really what they are. And someone who's an actual socialist. But DSA, they ran with that and let them call them socialists. Now everybody else calls them socialists, and they have watered down what it really means to be a socialist. So people are all confused. So it's just, again, like I have a lot to say to DSA. Like I'm really like frustrated with them because they could have really put a stop to this earlier on when they backed off against Jamal Bowman. Jamal Bowman was not supposed to be traveling to Israel and meeting with Netanyahu. That was strictly against their policies. And yeah, they made a fuss about it, but he's still around. So something is not right there. So again, I point fingers back at DSA leadership because I feel like they are not holding them to task. They're not doing their job.
And that's because they run a top-down model. Like as socialists, we're supposed to be running horizontal movements where you don't have this hierarchical structure, which we have in this culture because that comes from capitalism. So how are you going to have this hierarchical structure that comes from capitalism within your own organization? And Sabi, on point, they're social democrats. They still apologize for capitalism. They are working within the capitalist imperialist structure when we should be antagonizing capitalism, trying to take advantage of the infighting within capitalism, while at the same time building a movement that is meant to challenge and overthrow capitalism, not reform capitalism and become the capitalists themselves, which the DSA leadership has done. And that's where I point my anger at. I think that you point your anger at too, Sabi. CJ, you was clear about that as well. Because I know these people, guys. I know people who sign up for their local DSA because they mean well. Is that the United States left has led us off a cliff, and we, RBN, we're going to continue to punch up at these top-down structures and hold them accountable to the many well-faced DSA people, even the people to my right, man. Like even they're not a Marxist, and I see them, and they're like a social democrat, socialist, but I know they're doing good work. I'm not gonna bite their head off, right? But they legitimately want to do good work, but they are being stifled by this organization. So I really hope they rise up. Great point, Sabi. JB, CJ, want to jump in?
I'll let JB had the last word, and then we can. I have Sabi's video prep.
Yeah, let's do Sabi on Sabi's
video. Yeah.
No, they. The capitulation to keep these members in who basically violate the tenets of the organization, it really calls into question the organization itself. And that being said, it means that their organization really has no validity whatsoever if they continue to allow this. It's just like, that's like having a organization that's against domestic violence against women, and you have some men in the organization, and then they commit domestic violence against the women in their life, and then you allow them to stay. It's like, what are you doing? That person did violence against somebody, which is against the core tenets of your organization, and yet you're going to allow them to stay. You're going to allow them to keep staying there and say and represent that organization. That's now a stain on that organization. So therefore, they should be expelled because they are not adhering to the tenets of said organization. So if they want to keep them, then guess what? DSA is no longer credible at all.
Great point.
Yeah, let's get the Sabi fire video on.
Yeah, so let's play. So I first have the clipped video, Sabi, that you posted, and then we'll play the full video. It's not the full video is not even 10 minutes, so it's not a long video. So, but this is what you posted on your profile. So let's call this Sabi on RBN, and in between this segment, yeah, Sabi on Rising. You're right. Yeah. In between this segment, if you could like the stream, and let's push our likes to 400. We're at 500 people watching and about 300 likes. So let's on 100 more likes, that'll push us to the next level here. And we're gonna move to this next segment, Sabi on Rising. This is the video that Sabi posted on her own page, and then we'll go to the full video.
I don't know if meeting with the squad is going to really get the job done, because I've heard a lot of criticism of the squad members themselves for being insufficiently progressive from no less an authority than Brianna Joy Gray over here, and perhaps yourself as well.
Yes, I think, Hakeem Jeffries, he's another corporate Democrat establishment figure there. I think people also need to remember that it was Hakeem Jeffries who started a PAC to prevent other progressives from getting into Congress that were challenging incumbents. He's not for progressive policies. He's been very vocal about this. And so I think the question that we need to ask is, why isn't the squad pushing back against leadership of Hakeem Jeffries? Because this is someone who is going to be against the progressive policies that they are trying to enforce. So that's a big part of the problem. And I think that this brings to a larger question here about whether or not the squad is actually doing what they're supposed to do in reference to that Justice Democrat strategy. And they're not. And so for me, like, I talk about this often about how they're not doing a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party, how they basically just align themselves with corporate Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries. And so I think, I'm someone that's on the bottom of the totem pole. I think they're going to need to hear this message from some of the organizations that they're a part of. Where is DSA when it comes to the squad? Because recently they issued a statement saying that they are not happy with the decisions that AOC and Cori Bush has made in reference to the railroad workers and preventing them to go on strike. So what it's going to take in order to hold them accountable, you're going to need organizations like DSA to push back on them. And if the squad members are not following the principles of DSA, then I call on DSA leadership to remove them from that organization. But I don't think that's likely to happen.
So Sabrina, you bring up a good point. For those who aren't aware, many of these squad members were sought out and nominated and supported in their runs by organizations like Justice Democrats, who very explicitly had a plan to kind of create a Tea Party of the left, if you will, and really get people into office who had a more adversarial style of politics, people who were willing to call out establishment figures from Joe Biden, Hakeem Jeffries on down, and really draw a contrast between what they felt like was a real, genuine progressive movement that wasn't being reflected in the elected officials and the elected officials that are currently in place. And people, including former leadership of Justice Democrats, have criticized squad members for not actually taking that stance.
Great clip, and I'll bring up the full clip next. Anyone wanted to chime in on this particular point that Sabi is making, or the one that BJG is making here?
Yeah, that's well said. Sabi is one of our best representatives for shows like those, because, like the comment said, she's really good at making her points very clear and concise. And Sabi has such a nice cadence in the way she speaks, so it's even funner to watch her land like devastating left blows, because Sabi's so soft spoken, but then she's speaking raw facts. I think it's a good dynamic. But go ahead, that's all I had to add.
Last week, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries was officially elected as successor to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
I do want to set the conversation. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think so. The part that you just played, that's the beginning part. The clip you just played on the Twitter.
That is the beginning part that we're gonna go into. Okay, so I'll know to skip through a little bit, but to the point that you make in the video that they supported Hakeem, which is weird because even the boutique left, all of their media, they talk about how they don't like Hakeem and how he doesn't like progressives like that. There's a lot of video content on them talking about that. Go ahead, Sabi.
Even TYT said told them not to support him, not to do it.
Oh yeah, Jane did tweet that out, huh? I don't see any reason, something like I don't see any reason why anybody needs to support them. I'll read this. This was Sabi's best appearance. Each answer. Oh,
sorry, my bad. My bad.
I can read that fast.
I got it.
This was Sabi's best appearance. Each answer was so clear, no stuttering, no pauses, just bang bang. It was excellent. You can see it from the comments too. And that's a great point because as we go on these shows, you was just on, is it called Moats? Nick was on Moats too. You go on these, both of you are getting better. And I think we have the two right people that's going out and doing these shows, especially Sabi and then Nick too, going out and doing these shows. So great point. Sabi is awesome, but all RBN is awesome. Go ahead, JB.
I'm sorry, but I hate to put a little humor into this serious topic, but that comment got me thinking about John Witherspoon when he goes bang, bang, bang. You know?
Yes, me too. I thought I was gonna make a comment about. I was like, it's not the time.
I'll do it.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was thinking of the same thing. Anybody who knows, go check. I think he started doing it in Friday maybe, but you see him on the Wayne's brother show.
Mm-hmm.
He says that all the time. But it's so weird to me. Back to the point of the video, Sabi, and I'll fast forward past this part. But how they supported him after all of the stuff that he said and did. Said this in the beginning. Okay, so I'll let it play, and when it gets to the part, should I just skip it or just let it play until it gets to the part that it doubles?
You can skip to about 4 minutes in, I think. Okay, that is the first.
Okay, good. Thank you, Sabi. Here we go.
Yeah,
so I'll
right
go
about
right about here, and let's listen.
Because it does them a great deal of service to be seen as conciliatory and open-minded and progressive and diverse and all of these sorts of things. So I'm curious, what do you make of the value of organizations like DSA if at the end of the day, although they will write letters saying that they're displeased with votes like the one over the railroad strike, they ultimately seem reluctant to kick members out. We also saw this with Jamal Bowman around one of his votes. I believe it was for the Iron Dome. There was this kind of censure. There was a kind of public critique, but there wasn't actually any accountability mechanism in place that seemed to have any effect on the outcomes here.
That is correct. And I think we need to call on Justice Democrats organization as well, because part of that strategy was that if the squad members did not do what they were supposed to do once they got into office, then they were supposed to be primary challenged. When they refused to force the vote, they should have been primary challenged. That did not happen, at least on the left. So there's been no accountability for them, and they know that they're going to continue to get reelected. And if
Sabi, let me stop it here because this is actually a point I just found out. Now, I'm sure maybe somebody said it somewhere and maybe I just didn't catch because sometimes I'm in my own world. But this was a point when I first watched it this morning that I did not know. So when they when they vote for stuff like war or they vote against to break a strike, these are things that should fall in the category where they should be removed and so on, right?
Right. They were supposed to be, that was supposed to be, part of the strategy that if they did not fight back, if they didn't follow those principles, then they were supposed to be primary challenged the next election cycle, particularly after force the vote. That was a big one where if they didn't force the vote, then you were supposed to primary challenge them. But again, that comes straight from the DSA handbook.
So what are they, are they on record or saying why has anyone brought this up? Hey, why aren't you primarying them? You said you were gonna, has they answered that, or are you aware of that?
They haven't answered. Well, they haven't really been asked that question. The one person that was able to ask them and they got some of the answer out, was when Max Blumenthal asked Cori Bush, why did they not force the vote? And then her response was, that's Bernie Sanders and Pramila Jayapal's bill. And then her bodyguard cut her off, and that was the end of that conversation. But no, they're not answering those questions. And I think that's another reason why they're dodging independent media too, because they know people want to ask about that. But in the DSA handbook, and by the way, that forcing the vote for Medicare for all, that was supposed to be one of the first things that they were supposed to do when they had the opportunity to do so. And if they did not do that, then the idea is that those people were supposed to be primary challenged and those politicians will be pushed out. But see, that's why, like, after force the vote, some people were like, okay, what's the next step? What do we do now? And this is where people like, and I know they weren't a part of it anymore, but they were promoting it. This is where people like, where DSA failed. This is where people like Cenk Uygur and Kyle Kulinski, because it was their, Justice Dems was their organization. This is where they should have came in and said, okay, they need to be primary challenged. They let them get away with too much.
Just disgusting.
So basically, people like Kyle Kulinski and Cenk Uygur dropped the ball either unintentionally or intentionally.
Either way, I guess part of it was probably because, remember, Cenk was removed from the organization and Kyle stepped down in solidarity. Like, both of them got heat thrown towards them, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess in a way they kind of felt like, well, we're not running it anymore, so we can't really tell you what to do. But at the same time, they were the ones heavily promoting them, though. They were the ones telling us to back them. So when DSA failed after force the vote, that's where they should have came in and they should have told the audience, no, they have to be primary challenged.
Great point. Wow. Oh, let's continue with more of the video.
And if there's no accountability, then nothing is going to change. I wish DSA leadership had that type of backbone and that type of energy, and to be willing to stand up to them and say, listen, you cannot be a part of this organization anymore because you're not upholding the principles. The same can be said for Justice Democrats. I said the same thing before on my show. Justice Democrats should be holding the squad accountable. And I think what's unfortunate is that we've seen that some of these organizations that were supposed to be 100% grassroots are no longer 100% grassroots. They're taking billionaire money. They're taking money from people like George Soros. So this is a big part of the problem. And now I think organizations like DSA, they are kind of relying on AOC and Cori Bush to help their brand. And so now it's almost to the point that if they do remove them from the organization, then what does that say about the brand of DSA? But these organization leaderships, they have to be more responsible and they have to be willing to hold these members accountable. And if they cannot do that, then maybe they should step aside and let someone else lead.
Yeah. Sabi, which organizations, I'm sorry, just to clarify, which organizations are taking billionaire money or George Soros money?
Justice Democrats, for sure. I know that one for sure because I have receipts on that one.
I wanted to pause here because it felt like she just wanted to make sure you weren't just saying stuff and you had proof. When you say you had receipts, because I remember you did a stream or a segment maybe on this, but can you just further explain what you meant by when you say you have receipts and why the connection to George Soros?
Right. So a lot of these organizations, if you look up the FEC, which is the Federal Election Commission, you can pull all of these receipts from these organizations. Now, what I found was very strange, and I'll get into this point later on, when it came to DSA, I couldn't find any of their donors, none of them. And I believe they're a 501(c)(3), I want to say, so they should have that information public. However, when it comes to Justice Democrats, in the beginning, it was supposed to be 100% grassroots organization. Unfortunately, as time went by, they decided that they could do a lot more if they took billionaire money. This is also the reason why some people stepped down. This is why Zeneb, she's talked to me. We talked about this on Call-In before multiple times. That's why she left. Because she said she saw when they said they were going to start taking billionaire money. It was like, no, that's not what this is supposed to be about. In fact, I think she issued a statement about that recently on Twitter. But they switched, they changed their mind and said we could do more. If we take the money, we need the money. Thank you for that, Rocco.
And
thank you for that. Yeah. So Justice Democrats, they have been taking billionaire money. They're smart now. Like when they take it through a PAC, but then you have to look and see who owns the PAC. And that's the tricky part. Sunrise Movement also takes money from George Soros. So again, none of this stuff is not really private, but you really have to look for it. And that's the thing. So Justice Democrats also was co-opted. Sunrise Movement has been co-opted. And that's the thing about these organizations. And we need to start asking about DSA too.
Remember, we did a stream, CJ, where we went through the receipts, and what the squad would do, they would get money, and Justice Democrat would get money from the Working Families PAC. But then you had George Soros, who's the number one donor, like 80% of money comes from George Soros' organization. But then the squad and the Justice Democrats, they would say, oh, we raised our money from the Working Families PAC, ignoring the fact that they got their money from George Soros. So that's another.
Yeah, I do remember that stream. That stream. So just for those who are, Sabi just saying stuff, and Bree was getting her to just show that she does have the receipts. We've all done streams on this particular point. Sabi, I'm sure, covered a couple of times. I know the stream that you're talking about, Nick, remember. We could play another minute or so, and let's get the last comment, because I believe you make another quick point here. So let's go.
And then also there's speculation about DSA, because DSA is not revealing who their donors are. And that's very suspect to me. Everyone else is doing this, including organizations like the Sunrise Movement, which we also know has taken money from George Soros. So this is a problem. And I don't know for sure if that is the reason why they're not holding them accountable. I really think that they have been, now they're pretty much relying on those politicians to help their brand. And now it would look bad for them PR-wise if they were to remove them from the organization. But I'm sorry, you have to be tough. You have to be stronger here. If they're not going to hold them accountable, then nothing is going to improve for people on the left.
Yeah, I mean,
that last part you just said there, I think we can close the segment. That last part is spot on. Like if we're just gonna go and pretend like nothing happened and just keep going, like what type of damage is this going to cause? And it kind of goes back to the question I asked earlier. Like, is this gonna shake support for anything? Like, what can they do? Like, if they can send billions of dollars to Ukraine, a proxy war, if they could do that, if they can send money for an Iron Dome or allow all these bills to go through police, but like, at what point why are we still calling them left? Why are we still behind them? What are they doing that's left? That's my final thought on the segment. Anybody's final thought on this segment?
Well, I think that's a good point, CJ. And then also too, another thing I mentioned is that for the few journalists and commentators that do have direct access to members of the squad, they need to be holding them accountable too. And the reason why they don't heavily criticize them is so they can maintain access to them. But that has to change. You can't come running in, running cover for them every time they're criticized. And I'd say this about Ryan Grimm too. You know, it's great that he came on yesterday. I appreciate him having that conversation. But, you know, part of the reason why people get so frustrated with him sometimes is like, as soon as someone criticizes the squad, it's like, bam, here he come to run cover and protect them. I'm your bodyguard. That's Ryan Grimm, like the bodyguard of the squad sometimes. And I don't think he realized how it come across sometimes, because when they are in the wrong, he doesn't do the same when he's trying to criticize them. He's always coming in to defend them. So that's a big part of the problem. But very few journalists and commentators, at least in independent media, have access to them. And I think people need to understand that some people like Ryan Grimm have direct access to AOC.
Recently, Sam Peter had an interview with Ilhan Omar, and you couldn't have a more softball interview than that.
Yeah, I saw that. That was so garbage. That was so garbage.
But go ahead, JB. I think you want to chime in, right?
You want to chime in? Go ahead, JB.
Yeah, this is the problem with access journalism, because it makes it so that the people who are in power feel like, it's a privilege to talk to me. I'm the one who you want to talk to because I'm the one who will bring in the numbers. So therefore, you guys have to give me a tongue bath in order for me to be more sympathetic to coming on, when it should be the other way around. It should be, oh my God, I need to get this message out. So please, RBN, Sabi Sabs, INN, MCSE, can you guys please have me on so I can talk to the people? And so this is another reason why it's important for us to grow. Partly because we don't want the politicians to be like, oh, well, you guys have to get access to me. It's like, no. You need access to us. Because the thing is we're not going to sit here and massage your feet just so that we can talk to you. No. We're the hot coals that you got to walk over in order to get to the other side. And so that's what the thing I think is really important. And so this is why it's important for us and to do it in a professional, respectful way, but also let them know you fucked up.
We need a book of JB analogies. If somebody can just start putting them together so we can make like a pamphlet or a book. Yeah. I'm sure somebody can watch the videos and put them together. But we're coming towards the end of the stream, and I have a unique way I want to kind of bring it.
I'll give you super chats real quick. We can read super chats.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not that close. Nick, I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't mean like to say like we're about to end this. Okay. What I wanted to do is play a short clip and get your response and your closing and then your closing statement on the way out, and then we can do the super chats, because we're not going to be able to do a full segment on this, and it's because Nick and I have already kind of responded to this, so I still want to get on video, and our audience want to know, what does JB and Sabi think about, the video of Ryan Grimm coming on? So I'll play this short clip that somebody made for us.
You know, if I get it, I actually got a split here soon. CJ.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I shout my show? I got another show tonight. Make sure you guys
go ahead.
9 p.m. Eastern time. My great friend Comrade Misty joining me, and we're gonna talk about Elon Musk's poll they did on Julian Assange. And there was this media event where they invited the CIA spook to smear Julian Assange, and then Max Blumenthal was in the crowd and confronted the CIA spook who was talking shit on Julian Assange. So I have a great guest for that. Misty's gonna join me. She's an amazing Julian Assange activist, and we're also gonna talk about John Bolton. 2022. I still have two good stories. So I just gotta make some runs. So I will split a little bit early, but I'll see you guys later tonight.
Yeah. All right, Nick. All right. So yeah, I just want to get your brief reaction on our way out here, JB and Sabi. I know you've seen it, but just to get just for those that may not have seen it, I'll play this short clip and then get your reaction as we close here.
For way too long, you have been driving people here or there, and to say that you guys don't see the strategy, don't see the failures, you don't see the future of, you know what I'm saying? Like I honestly think it's a lie. I honestly do, because we haven't been here long. I'm only 30 years old. I've been in politics all of my life. Some of you have been in politics longer than I have been alive, and it just doesn't make any sense. Why can't you guys catch on to what's really going on, to how AOC just basically invited fascism into the workers, the railway workers, into their strike, and took away their rights? Like, I really feel like that should be the story over everything.
I think,
fascism is alive in America. Is here in our faces, and it's brought to you by the Democratic Party.
And I think the bigger story is, and tell me if you think this is right, that I think the left and folks like yourself want there to be like a Marjorie Taylor Greene equivalent on the left, not a crazy person, but like people who are just willing.
Right. Shama Sawant is what we want.
Exactly. Like
Shama Sawant. So go ahead.
Exactly. And you don't have that. Like that's not who they are. And I think there's frustration in that. Yeah.
Ryan, would you agree, which is mostly my premise, that the squad is ineffective leftist leaders?
I think it's a tough call. I think the last year and a half, if you look at on a
All right, so it was a short clip, for those that may have missed it. But what was your overall reaction? We can start with Sabi and then JB, and if you also want to, give closing remarks, that's up to you. But what was your overall reaction? You kind of gave a little glimpse, Sabi, already about what you thought was Ryan said yesterday. But what was some more of your overall reaction to what some of the things he said, some of the points that was made by Nick or anybody else in that interview?
Yeah, I think, I've seen Ryan do interviews before, so I knew he would be relatively calm. When I saw a Rome hop on the stream, I was like, oh. I was like, I said, Rome, don't scare him away. Don't scare him away. But, I get what he's saying. Like, for him, he's just following the timeline of events, like the sequence of events and things that happen.
Yeah.
But I think with us, we're following the timeline, but at the same time, we're looking at other options that could have been done. And he's not doing that part, right? So I think one thing I did notice in that particular clip, when he said, you guys want someone like a Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm glad you corrected him, CJ, because somebody else would have heard that and would have taken that the wrong way and say, see, I told you they're secret right-wing people. And there's a big difference between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Shama Sawant. So I'm glad you made that correction there. But yeah, at the end, I did see he did eventually admit that the squad is ineffective at this point in time. So I think that conversation was important to have. And I think that's why some people, I don't know, maybe that opens up different doors, but I think that's why some people don't want to come on RBN to have that conversation, because they know that they're going to have to admit to things that they may not be willing to admit to.
Such a great point. JB?
Yeah. So when he said that it's a tough call, it's only a tough call the higher you are on the economic ladder. You see, the problem is that there's a lot of people within his purview, his contemporaries, that tend to be on the higher rungs of the economic ladder. So therefore, the sense of urgency is nil. That being said, we're disappointed in AOC. We're disappointed in Mark Pocan. We're disappointed in Pramila Jayapal. Woo, 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 woo. Let's keep on moving forward. And that's how it appears. Whereas if you ask somebody like us, especially those of us who are still living in poverty, we say, get rid of them, kick them out, replace them. Why? Because our lives literally hang in the balance each and every single day. And so for some, it doesn't even come to their mind that, well, it's a tough call. They're starting to see that. But we have arrived to this a long time ago. It's just like a lot of people who go, well, you're saying that the country is fascist. That's hyperbolic. Until you start getting treated the way we Black people have been treated for the last 400 years, then it's like, wait a minute. Oh my God, this country is fascist. Because to us, the fascism that we've been experiencing, the fascism that you're starting to experience, is just another Tuesday for Black people. We've been experiencing this for the longest time. We've been trying to tell y'all, but y'all haven't awakened to it, I should say. So because of that, now, because those of us here at RBN, now you have Sabi going on, like on Moats and on Rising, places like that. Now people are starting to see, wait, they're getting attacked not from the right, but from the left and from the bottom. Mm-hmm. It's not just from the left, but they're also getting attacked from the bottom. And so because of that, that is why it is a tough call for many people who are part of the PMCs, for the people who are solidly middle class, because they don't see it until it happens directly to them. And because we're telling them that it's happening directly to us, now we're forcing their eyes awake in order to see what is really going on. because the people who are the most disenfranchised are really the canaries in the coal mine to what is going on in this nation. And we are the ones that are chirping as loud as can be, and now they can't avoid it.
Great point, and some great comments that I tried to toss up as you to go along with what you were saying, JB. I got the sunlight coming in over my head, or you can see if I stand back. Sunlight, so I have to sit up. So, but I think we can end it here. I think all of us kind of got to jet out. We're trying to keep for those our audience RBN live to probably about 90 minutes, and this was our attempt today, so we came pretty close, 10 minutes over. We all are busy, and the fact that we have this time during the week that all of us can come together for like 90 minutes to provide a roundtable sort of discussion with all of us. It's amazing we have even 90 minutes, so we do appreciate it. And like the stream on our way out, Sabi, what can people expect to see you tonight? And I was going to go to you, JB. Go ahead, but if you want to start, go ahead, JB. If you want to go to super chats and that's what we're talking about. So super chats first, and then we'll go to Sabi for when can we expect to see her, and then you.
I'll make this very quick.
I gotta go, but
okay, so
Sabi, then you
go ahead, and you say your part first. Then go ahead.
Okay, so I'll be live again tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Ann Garrison is coming on. She's a contributor for Black Agenda Report. We have other news stories, but she's also going to talk about the conflict in Ethiopia and China and Africa working together. So
I saw her on the Jimmy Dore show. She was on talking about Ilhan when she had that protest. She's the one that wrote that article. All right, Sabi. So make sure you check out the Sabi Sab show on her channel tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. All right, so super chats, JB, and then we can get out of here. Go ahead, sir.
All right, people, super chats. Now we have Mike saying, thanks, y'all. Great voices for the workers' cause. Thank you so very much for that. Also, we have JM, a sticker. Thank you so very much. Nicole Van says, love Nick's RBN. I know exactly what that is. I have one too. So do I. But yeah. A kid says, RBN, salute for all your accomplishments in 2022 and continue with your message and speaking tour in 2023. Thank you so very much for that. Steven Sinilas says, Philly, Steve applauds. All right. Banana split cream bun. Sorry. No comment. I'm not saying nothing about that name. All right. It says, RBN and Jimmy Dore keeps me sane. Love seeing RBN network with black leftists like Q. Wow. Say, will you have on black artists? We would love to. Recommend Akil Godsey from Baltimore band End It with song New Wage Slavery featuring Sydney, Australia.
That sounds very interesting, actually. It does sound interesting.
That sounds pretty cool. Let me see. Lucretia Williams says, love all y'all's work. Thank you for having clear analysis through all the haze. It is crucial to what I do in my community. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Also, Neo's algorithm says, hey, Sabi and team, finally launched what I told Sabi I would do months ago. Will be honored if you all checked out Force the Primary 2024 on YouTube. You all were a huge inspiration. Thank you so much. Force the Primary 2024. That sounds interesting. Thank you so much. Roger Meadows says it was a boomerang when he said, bang, bang, bang. Okay. Thank you. You know I had to do it, right? Jay said, saw Nick and Sabi on modes. Keep up the good work. Thank you. And NK said, the same people that you're saying are being hyperbolic have been screaming at the top of their lungs about our democracy ending. Well, I hope that they also are now saying that, it is a lot of fascism that we're seeing now. I'm not sure if there's any tips on Rockfin, but I'm going to check right now just to see, because I know that sometimes we have tips on Rockfin.
Absolutely.
Yep. Let's go here. Boom. So no tips on Rockfin, just a troll and one love saying voting against our best interests like funding Nazis. Thank you so much, One Love. And the person who's putting in some whatever. They're putting in a link, whatever. Anyways, so yeah, I want to make sure I got through that just to make sure, you know, I respect for people who sent super chats. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh, and by the way, sorry, I forgot. I'll be doing the continuing reading of Assata Shakur's autobiography, which I am reading right now on my channel. If you guys want to go to my channel, as well as continue reading of Dirty Truths by Michael Parenti, I also read that on my channel as well. And also talking about 11 Demands with Eric and Corey earlier today on my stream. It was great. So thanks.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. I think that's going to be it. Today is Tuesday, so Wednesday, I believe Nick and CJ show will be. Oops, shouldn't have done that because I'm going to share that same screen that was already up, but I can put it up. So this is our outro video. So we'll be back for the Nick and CJ show tomorrow. Don't forget tonight, Nick will be back on about 9 p.m. Eastern, I think he said. So 9 p.m. Eastern, Nick will be back on. Make sure you return for that. If you're watching this on replay and wish you saw this live, make sure you join our Substack. Also, our Discord launched, and our Discord is exclusively for our Substack subscribers. So Discord launch, if you want to be part of our Discord, join our Substack also. So you got 2 reasons to join Substack: to get the live stream and also to get access to our Discord. We're trying to reach 30,000. So keep subscribing, keep liking. Thank you so much. And this is our closeout video. Have a great day.
The day the squad and Bernie voted for war credits for the Ukraine, that whole enterprise called, the progressive, turned into a rotting corpse. The whole job of leftists, as they understood it back then, is to constantly point out the conflict of interest, what they call contradictions, but we can leave that aside, the conflict of interest between the ruling elite, the capitalist class, and yourself, to constantly point out their interests are not your interests. Their interests are not your interests. Don't be fooled. And for them, the hallmark of what you call class consciousness, the hallmark of class consciousness was seeing that fundamental conflict and cleavage between you, your class, your interests, and the ruling class. Now, let me be clear. That's exactly what Bernie did. He knew, he internalized, it was in his bone and in his blood, that tradition. And that's why day in and day out and day in and day out in both of his campaigns, he kept talking about there are a bunch of crooks. There are a bunch of crooks. Big pharma, bunch of crooks. And he did exactly what an old-time socialist would have done. Class consciousness. Their interests are not your interests. But then what happened? When it came to the foreign policy, all of a sudden, the bunch of crooks metamorphosed into a band of angels. You're telling me the same people who are cheating you day in and day out, stealing your wealth, stealing your labor, the same people are suddenly heartbroken by what's happening to the Ukrainian people? Are you telling me that? They're suddenly so concerned about the Ukrainian people?